Welcome to Tech at Scale. Every week we bring on an incredible guest to help you grow as a developer. I'm your host, Corey Darby, and this is another episode of Tech at Scale. Alrighty, welcome to another Coffee and Dev. And as you know, if you've been here before, this is where we grow as a developer every week, Wednesday and Friday, and the time it takes you basically to drink your lovely coffee or tea or even water in the morning. And we always cover some sort of interesting topic. And today's topic is how OpenAI is reshaping our world. And this Coffee and Dev is going to be really different, okay? Because we have not really any slides. Instead, I want to just talk about what is OpenAI and some of the examples of what is possible with OpenAI. So it's an organization and they're working on advancing AI, and they're taking a stance of like trying to figure out the morality and ethics of AI, because as you will see in some of the examples we cover, it's kind of crazy. It is going to fundamentally change everything we know about how we interact with the world. Let's just pick something as an example that I thought was interesting. If you're dev and you've had to write SQL before, one of the things it's able to do is, I wrote this in my notes. Let's just quickly read the notes. Okay, because I never remember GPT-3. So GPT-3 is their third iteration on the model they have for parsing out language. And in our example here, we can see that if we are given a prompt and we write something like create a SQL request to find all users who lived in California and have over 1,000 credits, and you prompt it with a select, and the response from it will be, so select all from users where state is CA, California, and credits is greater than 1,000. And usually when I tell people like this, they're like, that doesn't sound that great, that's not that crazy. But I didn't know about this, right, before going into this. Like notes to summary. You've written out some notes, and then it produces a little summary. This one is quite easy when you consider that it just infers the person to this and just re-summarizes the sentence. But what if I told you that if you've watched Coffee and Dev before this, that it was powered by OpenAI? Now, this is where it gets a little meta, because this very talk was brought up by OpenAI when I asked for topics to talk about software development. And you might think, so wait, is this talk a talk about OpenAI powered by OpenAI? Originally, yes, but I took it one step further because I figured that would be too easy to catch. If you remember our last Coffee and Dev, the top 5 struggles of being a software developer, you will remember, or if you watch this, I guess, and remember it, this I don't know if you can actually see this, but maybe if this entire presentation was created by essentially the OpenAI. I asked for topics in software development. It gave me struggles of being a software developer. And I figured, okay, that probably pairs well with top 5. I think this is exactly what, actually here, the 5 most common struggles that developers may have: lack of feedback, staying up to date with new technology, stressful deadlines, isolation, and physical demands. Now, if you look at the left side, these were the slides I used. And then each slide I had to generate points or discussion around whatever this was. Technology is constantly changing. It's, part of everything that we do in our job. Uh, and this is why this was such a hard talk doing OpenAI, the top 5 struggles of being a software developer, is I try to not add any sort of additional level of my experience and context around what I would normally talk about on these. And I really try to just stick to the notes that OpenAI had provided. Like, I don't think I talked about using your lunch break to spend time. I think I talked about learning new programming languages when I had done the video. So if you thought that OpenAI is not at the point of being able to do this, or that, oh, it's going to spew out gibberish, let me tell you, it is way ahead of even me being a developer thought where it would be. So I figured, what easier way than we interact with it directly. So OpenAI has an API that you pay for, but it's closed beta and the wait list is huge. So there are other companies who have already gotten in and then built on top of that platform. So let's say that we said that we do this and we say something like, OpenAI is changing the world for, and then we see what it comes up with. OpenAI is changing the world for the better. Continuous testing with simulated robots and continually learning from human gamers. What a mission. And it produces examples that are plausible. And sometimes, actually, these are better than what I would come up with myself. And that's really helpful because it pairs humans with the AI. So as you saw with the top 5 struggles for being a software developer, what I would have did was I would have got rid of physical demands on this and probably got it to something like intellectual demands or physical and intellectual demands, because this just narrows in too much. But, it produced quite a bit of text around this, you know, and it's able to infer like the relationships between different things. I had a friend who does a nail, like a nail company where you basically put glue on to your fingernails and you put the actual nail on it, and then you get long nails and they're stuck. And it was able to actually say like, oh, why acrylic nails are terrible and why her product is superior. And it's like, oh man, I did not think that the OpenAI would be able to, like the model would be able to find the connections that acrylic nails are the same thing as other types of nails, and that they could be not as good and why. And it is quite crazy. And there is a ton of things in here to do. A bunch of different things. Like I had it like here, product name, we'll call it software bootcamp. We'll say something like taking brand new developers to a whole new level. And the keywords will be something like, I know, software, software engineer, software developer, career progression. What else? How did I put it? Getting promoted, sure. And we go generate inspiration. And now our model goes off and it is going to see what it can come up with. Takes some time. Especially this one. This one by far takes the longest, I think. So probably this one looks good. There's a technology career waiting for you. Are you a software engineer looking to step up to become a software developer? Like this is wrong. Probably the other way, or I should say, are you like a junior software developer looking to step up to become a senior software developer? this, are you looking to go into management? Okay, that I could use. And it also will come up like with different features, you know, what do we cover? And they have this nice little build page thing just to visualize it, right? I think Clarity one is typically what I use. And then this is just there. Oh, one more. There. There's a technology career waiting for you. And it writes your subtitle. And then look, all in one software creation, boot camp, all the entire software engineering. Like it actually writes somewhat plausible things, and not just somewhat. Sometimes it's spot on. I mean, like it is really, really good sometimes. Like I had another one where it actually said something like the development boot camp is going to teach you like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Ruby. And it actually went into like test-driven development as one of the features it was going to cover. And like, you know, not everything you're going to use directly out of the box, like, oh, this is perfect, but it provides a really good basis of being able to build upon, especially when you go in and you're like, hey, okay, this is somewhat something that I could cover, and maybe this, but this I definitely want to rewrite. Or what it, like, as we saw on the very top, are you a software engineer looking for a step up to become a software developer? Like, somehow the model has come to the conclusion that like, oh, a software developer is probably better than software engineer. I don't know why. Maybe because it's probably thinking of just like engineer. But they trained this on like 10% of the web since 2019. So snapshot in 2019, they took like, let's say 10% of the web, and then the model got trained on that. So if I do put something in there that didn't exist on or prior 2019, it will have no idea. Like, you know, I'm writing a book, or trying to, I should say, writing a book about Trino. And if I had something like blog topic ideas, and I said, I don't know, why Trino is changing the world, and I generate this, it's probably going to, yeah, it somehow thinks that Trino is a social network, probably because when it was trained on, someone used Trino for some sort of social network. But if I change this to something like Presto SQL, which was the name for Trino back before in 2019 or prior, the world's first SQL-like query language, Presto SQL is the best thing since, like, okay, that's kind of garbage. New, okay, it's not a database. So like I said, sometimes it's not, and you have to be more precise, probably like, okay, this is probably something I could maybe write about, but not really because it's not a database. What happens if I said something like, Presto SQL is changing the game for big data. I'll include intros too, so that because maybe the title is just going to. But yeah, this, I think people just don't fully grasp just how good this can be at times. Obviously, you've seen some of these are flaky. I think it does not so great if you have a topic that's like very precise, or especially on technical things. So almost gets at Presto SQL is a query engine used in certain databases. Okay, almost there. It has connectors that allow you to connect to other databases. So it itself is not like a database. It is important to business because it can provide faster performance when using disk storage due to the fact that it implements the Parquet file format. Okay, so one thing I will note with the model is it does not factually check things. So right there, that is false. It does not do anything with like the Parquet file format. The connectors in Presto SQL does, but the model has connected the relationship between probably Parquet file format and the Hive connector in Presto SQL, and it thinks that Presto SQL is responsible for that Parquet file format. So that's where it's getting there. And it does make things that are correct, like that, you know, Parquet is a columnar storage format and it provides faster access to columns and large data sets. True. But you still need to filter this through. And there are other things like You cannot generate medical advice, legal, accounting, anything financial. There's a bunch of topics that it will just say literally the word censored. And the reason why is they are committed to the responsible use of AI with a cornerstone of ethical principles that put people first, which is what it says down here. Because I'm using something called Content Bot for this, and they're using the OpenAI API, and then they have a whole blurb about this on OpenAI. And the reason why they have that is they don't want a tool that is able to rapidly produce disinformation on a level that you actually think. Like some of this, sometimes I get it, it is written better than most like normal people, like actual people. Like it actually beats writing skills of most people, I think. Um, you know, presence equals probably a bad thing, but like I said, article topic, like, let's just put the top struggles of being a software developer because it's not so niche on the topic, and there was a lot more articles it would have been able to have been trained on when it ran, and it will get things that are pretty good and pretty spot on. And the tools allow you like full, like re-summarizing sentences and things like this, like top 5 challenges being software. It can be overwhelming to be in charge of anything in one's life. Needless to say, it's harder to be in charge of software that millions or even billions will use in a single day in day-to-day lives. And like I'm reading through this, it actually isn't that bad. Like first, software developers are in charge of reversing quality assurance. Quality assurance is difficult to achieve when dealing with so much at once. Oh, the other thing is it will cut off after 400 words, I believe it is, or yeah, I think 400 words, I think is what it is. And that's to prevent people from literally giving a topic and asking it to produce like, 55,000 words and make a book and then publish that book as factually correct. And someone reads it and thinking like, oh my God, like this book talks about like how the world is out to get us and whatever. And reality is actually OpenAI just generated it given the topic that you said, that the world was an evil place to live, or that the government is out to get us, like disinformation. Anyways, I feel like I just barely touched this and barely got into how powerful this really is. But I think it is worth mentioning, and I really want you to go out and explore and see just how far this can go. As you saw, if you watched episode 14, I was able to produce, I think, a decent YouTube video based off of what OpenAI had given me. And I don't think anyone would have ever guessed that it was generated by OpenAI and that I was mostly just speaking what OpenAI had given me in front of me. And this all came because, like I said, this original talk was generated from the OpenAI. It was something like top reasons of why OpenAI will change the development world, I think is the title it came up with. And then from there, I was like, ooh, that's a topic. But I don't want to do that very talk about that. I want to do it one before, so it's not so easy to catch it. With that said, there's more content. I'm on TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. I live stream this on YouTube, Twitch, and on my LinkedIn profile. The TikTok videos are just occasionally, but what I will say is I do want to start writing this book that I'm supposed to be writing on Twitch. So if you would be interested in that, it's on Trino. I will be trying to figure out a schedule and how this will work, but it is on Twitch. On the channel is Tech at Scale. And I would be totally gracious and happy if you came and joined me in writing that and told me how bad or how good it is. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed your coffee. I hope you learned something new today. Until next time, see you on Friday if you're able to make it. Adios.